Thank you for staying with us. Last month rather, the Independent Africa Regional Certification Commission, ARC, for polio eradication declared that the World Health Organization African region is free of wild polio virus. Indeed, for the continent at large. How do we also combat the circulating vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2? How? Okay. Tunji Funsho is the chairman, National Polio Plus Committee of the Rotary International. He's also named as one of the 100 most influential people of 2020 by Times magazines.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start from that point. One of the 100 most influential people. When you saw that, how did you feel?
Well, I felt quite honored, and it was a humbling experience because, like you said, of the hundreds of thousands of people in the world doing a lot of good things, Time decided to pick me amongst those people. And I gave total credit to my organization, Rotary, for giving me the pedestal. Otherwise, I'll be resting in one corner of Lagos, just doing my thing, as they said, as they say. So it's a humbling moment. It's a moment of honor. It's a moment of gratitude to God, for giving me the wherewithal to be able to stay the course over 3.5 decades.
I was going to ask you, so how have you been able to influence people over 3.5 decades? So how?
Well, I think when people see that your intentions are genuine, and when they see that you are willing to put your money where your mouth is, and not just say, go and do this, and they do not see you practicing what you preach, it will be very difficult to keep any group together. My current group of members of my committee have been with me for 7 years. Not a single one of them has used excuse of work. And I'm telling you, I'm talking about people who are top legal practitioners, CEOs of top companies, who have stayed with us despite the other commitments, to make sure that the task we set for ourselves, they give their best to make sure that we succeed. And that's why we're here today. It's the effort of a lot of volunteers who haven't decided that this is what needs to be done. We're willing to make the sacrifices.
So let's come back to this wild polio thing. Yeah. 4 years since it was detected? Yeah?
Yeah.
But how commendable is this effort of the African leaders in combating the virus?
African leaders, I made this comment, in one of my appearances in the media yesterday, is that the polio eradication effort has shown us that when we come together, either as a nation or as a continent, for a common goal, and we have the political will to do it, there's no challenge that can stop us from doing so, no matter what the challenge is. Once we put our mind to it, genuinely to do it, there's nothing we cannot do in Nigeria, there's nothing we cannot do in Africa. Polio eradication is something that has taught us this lesson. So if in future somebody gives us this excuse that, Nigeria is more populated than other countries, or my country's GDP is quite low, we cannot do this, we can show them the scorecard of polio eradication. So it can be done. If we decide and we put all our efforts in it, it can be done.
So what exactly did Rotary do that resulted in this huge achievement, which we're all celebrating?
Well, fundamentally, we worked in 4 thematic areas. One is advocacy, because as I was telling someone on our ride here on the phone, one of our earlier mistakes that we're still making with other diseases is that we assume that people who you are bringing something good to will automatically embrace it. without communicating with them the benefits, both in the short term and the long term. We're doing that with COVID-19, for instance. That is one. So advocacy is one of our strong points. Rotarians are present in every nook and cranny of the country, in Africa, in the world. So we have access to our local leadership. We have access to our national leadership. So we could advocate to them to make them appreciate the importance of carrying on this effort to eradicate polio, which we started long ago. And we've been lucky in Nigeria. We've had direct contacts with all heads of state since 1999 to push forward the need for political commitment and also resource commitments. That's one thing we do. We also advocate to ourselves, Rotarians, that these things cost money. You know, wherever you can find a little change, put it in the kitty. Your friends, let them put something in the kitty. Your family, let them put something in the kitty. Then awareness creation. You have been, you know, a big partner in helping us create awareness on the needs, particularly when we're having our campaigns house to house. Either it's on the news or one of us comes to your studio and advocate and you broadcast it for us so people know that we're doing house campaigns. Be ready, bring your kids out. Those people you are seeing are not strangers. They are from the partnership to protect your child. And then I mentioned fundraising. It's one of the things we've done very well is despite the ballooning costs of the eradication, we started thinking we'll do it with $120 million US. And we spent so far almost $20 billion US and still counting. And therefore, fundraising is important. And one of the things Rotarians are good at, again, is advocating with their governments all around the world. Even governments that have eradicated polio are still giving money to assist the Global Polio Eradication Initiative group to put in the kitty to ensure that, you know, our major programs of surveillance, doing trainings, providing vaccines, also ensuring that the issue of making sure that cold chain systems are maintained, and of course, paying the hundreds of thousands of volunteers who actually do the final important thing of getting the drops of the oral polio vaccine to the children.
Okay, let's talk about this vaccine-derived poliovirus type 2. There are some countries that are still experiencing that type of polio. Does that in any way put a dent to the celebration of wild polio eradication?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I mean, even in Nigeria, we're having that. Let me just explain how this vaccine derived comes about. Some people are of the erroneous opinion that it's the vaccine you give the child that may cause, you know, paralysis. That is not the case. The chance of normal oral polio vaccine causing paralysis in a child is 1 in 2 million. And if you look at the cost benefit, it's not something you even think about. But the vaccine derived is the oral vaccine is a vaccine that contains live poliovirus, which has been chemically treated to make it non-infective. It has been weakened. But it is still strong enough to provoke an immune response in a child. So when the child comes in contact with the poliovirus itself, the body can attack it and destroy it. What happens with vaccine derived is that in an environment where children are suboptimally immunized and also the environment is unhygienic, you have open sewers, you know, where people, you know, defecate and pass urine and so on. The vaccine-derived poliovirus comes from that kind of source because the original vaccine that is supposed to be weak, when it circulates in an environment where there's poor immunization for children, gradually gains power and becomes effective. So the way to stop it primarily is to ensure that the child is immunized. But secondly, to make sure that, you know, we provide an environment that is hygienic, clean drinking water, you know, flowing and, you know, closed, you know, drainages, so that that interaction of the virus with the body will be stopped. But then even if it comes to the child and the child is immunized, the child's body, you know, will get rid of it.
Doesn't it raise fears of a re-emergence of the wild poliovirus from this strain?
Not at all. The wild poliovirus is a different strain entirely. If you recall, when we started, we had 3 strains of wild poliovirus, type 1, 2, and 3. We have eradicated type 2, we've eradicated type 3, we're only left with type 1. And the same strategies that we have used to eradicate those 2 are the same strategies we are using now. And we are 99% or more, the way to doing that. So there's no chance at all of the vaccine-derived, becoming wild poliovirus. There are 2 different strains of viruses entirely. The second thing, of course, is that once we make sure our children are optimally immunized against the wild poliovirus, even if the wild poliovirus is reintroduced into the country from places like Afghanistan or Pakistan, it comes into the environment. Even if a child ingests it, the child's immunity will get rid of it. So the chance of any child who is optimally immunized against the wild polio virus getting infected is 0. So that is why our focus now is to ensure that every child, though we are polio-free in this country, there's no evidence of the wild polio virus anywhere, either in a child or in the environment, that a child who is not optimally immunized, if that child comes in contact with the wild polio virus, they stand a risk of being infected.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back to continue the conversation and the way forward, especially as all of this will affect the health sector in the face of the pandemic and all. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have Tunji Funsho, who is the Chairman, National Polio Committee of the Rotary International, named as one of the 100 most influential people of 2020 by Time magazine. Thank you for staying with us, Mr. Funsho.
Thank you.
Yes, we were talking about the vaccine-derived polio, and I wanted to know how widespread it is, especially in Nigeria.
Well, it's not widespread in Nigeria. In late January, we had a case in Sokoto State, and just last week we had a case in Lagos State. But the thing about the circulating vaccine-derived polio virus is that we have a protocol that helps us to deal with it in very quick time and bring an end to it. So it is not. It doesn't pose as much of a problem as does the wild polio virus, because usually within 6 months we can get rid of vaccine-derived polio virus wherever they may occur.
So what efforts can be made to clear this vaccine-derived polio virus completely? The same way the wild polio virus has been eradicated.
I think the most important thing is to ensure that every child is immunized against the wild polio virus. That is the most important thing. The second thing, of course, is to have a clean and hygienic environment so that even if the virus is in the environment, it doesn't interact with the child. The danger now is that where we get most of these vaccine-derived are in areas, of high congestion, of poor sanitation, and poor water supply.
Water.
Yes.
Water.
But then the other thing we are doing, and we are in the third stage of the vaccine trial, we are providing a new vaccine, which will be a very stable vaccine. And so far, all the stages of trial, animal trials, stage 1 trials, stage 2 trials, have proven to be very successful. So we're going to roll out the third phase of the trial next month, literally next week, because that involves a larger number of people, and you need to take it to an outbreak area. And Nigeria is one of those outbreak areas. There's a high possibility that we're going to be one of the target nations to do the phase 3 trial of this novel oral polio vaccine. This is a brand new vaccine that is developed from the scratch. It's the first new polio vaccine to have been developed since the 1955 polio vaccine was developed. So that is going to ensure that when we're doing this outbreak response, we're going to use this new vaccine.
But now with there's a pandemic in the in the air, the coronavirus, and then people talking about vaccines, and you're talking about this vaccine that's coming out next month. Won't it be causing any fears, amongst the people that will not cause any worries?
Not really. We have learned our lesson from our initial introduction of OPV to our environment, and the communities are highly sensitized now, about the need for us, because of this vaccine derived, to bring in a new vaccine. So at the very, very local level, community leaders have been sensitized. They will sensitize their people, and so it is going to cascade actually from top, to bottom. From the federal government level, to local government level, to ward level. Traditional leadership are also involved in this. By the time the third phase of the trial, starts, everybody is going to be sensitized to ensure that there is, like I said earlier, there's a buy-in. Because without a buy-in, you're going to have, issues of trust, in whatever the intervention is going to be.
Thank you very much, Tunji Funsho, Chairman, National Polio Plus Committee of the Rotary International. Also one of the 100 most influential people of 2020. I like repeating that because it's inspiring me to buy Time magazine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
So as we're back for the home stretch, just stay with us.